Hey guys, welcome back to Such Plants. My name is Ron, and today we are going to be propagating my baby Monstera Deliciosa. So I got this plant off of Amazon a little over a year ago, and it was my very first house plant, very first plant ever that I purchased. And I was such a plant noob back then. I still kind of consider myself a plant noob or an experienced plant noob or whatever. But this was the very first plant that got me into houseplants, and I was really into the fenestrations of the mature Monstera deliciosas, and I just really wanted to watch a plant grow. And so this was a very juvenile Monstera deliciosa. The reason why I decided to propagate it now, I actually wanted to propagate this quite a while ago, but it never really had the best of light conditions. And as a result of that, it developed fungus gnats multiple times, and leaves were just not getting as big as I wanted them to be. They were just not getting bigger and bigger. Sometimes they would even get smaller. And you can probably see right now that it's very bare down here. And that's because I did cut off a few leaves, and they were mostly like this size right here. They were just not getting bigger. The node spacing as well is very long. I'm going to be propagating it. I'm just going to be chopping it in between nodes and then putting it into this glass right here. And yeah, let's get to it. I'm going to switch up the camera angle a little bit so we can have a very in-depth look. All right, so as you can see, multiple nodes down here are missing leaves, and that's where I chopped them off. And you can see the elongated node spacing. If we bring it a little bit closer, you'll notice how the stem down here is very thin compared to up here, where they started to become healthy and thicker. And that's true for all stems in this pot, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stems in here. They're all starting off thick from when I first got the plant. Basically, where this plant used to live, it wasn't getting a lot of sunlight. And so that's when it started to push out these very itty bitty, rinky dinky stems. And from that stem, it pushed out very tiny leaves like this one right here. So it wasn't rare to see a big leaf down at the bottom, and then the next leaf out of that, a very tiny leaf. And so now that this plant is living in this room, where there's an abundance of sunlight, it started pushing out these very thicker, healthier stems, and the node spacing is starting to become a little bit more less. A little bit more, less. A little bit less. And therefore, the leaves at the top started becoming bigger and bigger. And that's what we want to see, right? Because we want to see those fenestrations. So my strategy for this propagation is going to be cutting it right below the node where it started becoming thicker in stem. So in each vine, you'll see thin and then thick, right? So in this case, this vine right here, it's thick right here. And there's a node, an aerial root right here. So I'm going to be cutting right here. So just like my last video, I have scissors, alcohol, and a glass. So let's get started. So for this one, it has 3 leaves. There's no new growth. I don't think there is any new growth on this plant. I do want to keep this baby leaf here. So I'm going to cut it right here. It's so cute. See? Tiny leaf, and then out came a bigger leaf, and a slightly even bigger leaf here. And that's that cutting. It has 2 aerial nodes right here, and hopefully roots will develop from those nodes, and they'll be placed in this really cute vessel here. So that's that cutting, and I'm just going to be doing that to the rest of the vines in this pot. Alright, so this is what's left in the pot. We have all of these exposed thin stems and 3 OG leaves left in the pot. So I don't want these tiny stems sticking out. I just want to get rid of them. So I'm going to just be cutting them off. But I want to be very careful when I do this because I want to make sure that I'm leaving at least 1 or 2 nodes because eventually there will be a leaf coming out, and I don't want to just throw the healthy root system away. So in order to save this plant, because this is going to be a separate plant from all the cuttings here, I'm going to be cutting only the thin stems and leaving 1 or 2 nodes. So now I'm going to be using ground cinnamon to close off these wounds to hopefully stop any bacteria from growing. And this is completely safe to do. It doesn't hurt the plant. It only helps the plant by inhibiting any bacterial growth. Don't want any bacteria finding its way into the stems because that'll eventually kill the entire stem system and thus killing the whole plant. We don't want that. So that's done. Now let's look at our cuttings. So here are the cuttings. There are 5 in total, and they all pretty much look the same with 3 leaves and 2 aerial roots. But this one only has 2 leaves. Technically they're all top cuttings, so they will all develop a new leaf at the top, which will be nice. But here's cutting number 1. Cutting number 2. Cutting number 3. Cutting number 4. And cutting number 5. I suspect this one will develop roots the fastest because it is the thickest stem and it has the thickest bulge right here. So now that we have all of our cuttings ready, I'm going to be placing it in water. And we're done. Also, as a pro tip, you want to make sure you wipe down all of your leaves on all of your plants occasionally, because sometimes all the dust on there will inhibit photosynthesis. So you want to make sure the leaves are clean of any dust so that sunlight will be able to be absorbed much more effectively, allowing your plant to grow faster and healthier. Alright, with the remaining stems here, I'm going to do an experiment because I don't want to just throw these away. We're going to be doing a wet stick propagation of these. And to do that, I'm going to be cutting them into separate nodes. And cutting them shorter. Until we have something like this, where we have an aerial node right in the middle. And the ends that I cut off are essentially useless, so I'm just going to toss those. So this is just for fun. I don't expect anything to really grow out of any of these. We might be lucky, but because there's just not a lot of aerial root to begin with, I'm not sure how much I'm able to keep up with these in terms of missing them every day and whatnot. But anyway, we have a dish here with some potting soil, which I mixed in a little bit of extra perlite and orchid bark and horticultural charcoal to make it as chunky and airy as possible. So now we're just going to be placing these into the soil. Aerial root facing down, and now misting. And there we have it. So this is just for fun. If anything happens to these guys, I'll be sure to post some updates. But it'll be pretty exciting to see anything happen, really. So I'm just going to be putting this in or under one of my grow lights right next to the humidifier so it doesn't dry out as much. And we'll go from there. Well, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and plant-scribe! You can also follow me on Instagram at suchplants. Oh, I forgot to water this guy. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I will do occasional updates of how these guys are doing. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!